while Owyn Kamerman is on the Mew VMAX with the 1-1 Aerodactyl V-Star.
Yeah, that Aerodactyl V-Star could be absolutely huge. Coin flip going to be big here. The rule with evolution Pokemon is really simple. If I get my single evolution Aerodactyl V-Star and I go first and I get it turn 2, you cannot possibly get your Lugia using its V-Star power before I shut that V-Star power off with Aerodactyl. So coin flip's going to be big. How these players start is going to be big. Certainly a quick Aerodactyl here is going to change things a lot and give Mew a huge advantage, but that is only one part of the matchup here.
Yep, prize card's also going to be pretty important here. Need to see if any of those pieces are in the prizes. Looks like Owyn dodging that there, but we do see the 1-1 Lugia there for Kai.
And the 2 Evolution Incense, which we've seen all weekend, are so good for dragging out those Archeops out the deck in the early game, because you do need to get them into the discard. So that's something to watch. Nothing horrendous, although, just looking at Owyn's hand there are a couple of Power Tablet which I don't like, but then there's a Battle VIP pass, so it's not going to be terrible.
Oh,
and we are off. We've got Swiss round 10, the first round of the day, and it looks like... Who's going? Is Owyn going first?
I'm not sure yet.
Oh, we're not going first.
I mean, we still see 6 cards in the hand, so the decision still needs to be made, I'm sure.
Oh, we haven't flipped over those actives yet. I'm too keen to get going here, Kyle. Well, this is day 2. I've woken up for this day.
Oh, absolutely. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the prize cards, though. We saw the 1-1 Lugia in the prizes for Kai. It is a 3-2 Lugia V-Star.
Oh.
So that is pretty crucial. Only one Lugia V-Star. Chip and I have been going back and forth about this. I say always assume you prize the Lugia V-Star. You need to play a little bit of a thicker line.
Indeed, that is not ideal. Although, has he got one in hand? Has he got Lugia V or a Lugia V-Star in hand?
Well, having the Lugia V-Star would be nice to know where it is, because sometimes you don't find it on turn 2.
I think he's got that Lugia V-Star in hand, so one might be prized, but it looks like the other one is actually sitting there in his hand. So that is quite a good bit of luck there. But we do see the fist bump. We are off. Owyn Kamerman is going first. We got a Mew in the active, and we're going to start with that wonderful Battle VIP pass. Any 2 basics you like from your deck onto the bench. It can only be used on your first turn of the game, but when you're going to be going and grabbing Genesect V that can draw you a whole heap of cards for the rest of the game, turn 1 is just fine.
Yep, you get a good feeling for how this is going to go. When you see the opening battle VIP pass, do they immediately go for the Aerodactyl? Because that's going to limit some of the draw potential that you have with the Genesect. If they go aggressive with the Genesects, then surely the hand is going to play out a little further, and then they'll play the Aerodactyl down at the end.
Yes, absolutely. It really depends how good the hand is to start, and it's annoying having things like this Power Tablet in hand turn 1. You kind of want to keep them for big KOs later, but if you play them down now, you can open up your hand a little bit to draw more cards with Genesect, which on turn 1 is huge. What you really want in your hand turn 1 are cards you can burn, Pokemon to bench, and we do just see those couple of Genesect coming down, and it looks like, yeah, one of those Power Tablet is going to go, so we can use a Cramormatic. Oh, it's a Tails.
Yep, sometimes you miss that opening flip there. It's going to be okay, though. Power Tablets are not super crucial in this matchup. Of course, taking the knockouts are lovely, but if your opponent's just attaching 1 energy per turn as a Lugia player, you've got a few turns to take knockouts.
Yeah, without the Aerodactyl, those Power Tablet, way more important. So we do see the Rotom Phone here. Lets you pick one of the top 5 cards of your deck, leave it on top. The rest gets shuffled in. But then, of course, you get to draw it with Genesect. I'm not seeing anything there I'm in love with.
This is a problem. Yeah, there's no other way to get Pokemon down here. And of course, you can grab the double turbo, play down that Power Tablet, draw 1, draw the turbo, and then try to draw 1 more card. But if we don't see the Aerodactyl down, this was a huge risk here with the opening battle VIP pass going for the Genesects.
Yeah, going double Genesect, it seems like the right play so you can draw all those extra cards. But if you don't get the Aerodactyl down, then Kai will have a chance to Lugia before you can possibly Aerodactyl. So we're going to see a draw of 1 here. It's a double turbo, which you can't even play. So that was not working, and now it's gone the other way. If Owyn gets the Aerodactyl going first at the earliest opportunity, you do get a chance to get the lock on.
He even had the free retreat Mew in the active ready to go, could easily switch into this, and you see immediately just on his face, puts his hands to his chin and goes, oh no, what have I done? If that Cramomatic flip was differently, this could be a completely different opening game here.
Oh, that Cramomatic was clearly going to be a Battle VIP pass, which would have got you the Aerodactyl and another basic Pokemon, and it would have been a possibly another Genesect, and it would have been a very, very different proposition. Kai here, though, Kai knows he's dodged a bullet at this stage. When we get to this stage of the tournament, players talk, players generally know what they're looking out for. Kai probably knows Owyn is playing that Aerodactyl, and this is a huge win here because it means you can get the Lugia this turn, and it means that you can potentially use your V-Star power before an Aerodactyl can ever come down.
Yeah, look at this. The quick ball here, throwing away the Archeops. Sure enough, another Archeops, I believe, in hand along with the Ultra Ball. So we'll be able to get both of those into the discard pile to start things off here. And then the only decision left to be made is, do you go for the 1 Lugia or the 2? When you're playing against Mew VMAX, I think you got to go 2.
Oh, I think you've absolutely got to go 2, especially when there's a couple Genesect out to draw. There's already a Mew in the active with that double turbo energy. I think you do have to go double Lugia. But when you're a Lugia player, like, all you really want turn 1 is you want to be getting 2 Archeops in the discard pile. You want to be getting 1 or 2 Lugia, depending on the matchup. That is it. That is your turn 1, really, that you're looking for. We've already got double Archeops in the discard. We've got a Lugia down. There's another basic coming out here. And, yeah, he's eyeing up that second Lugia, like we've said. I think it's got to be the right choice there.
I don't think that there could be a better hand here for the opener with the double Lugia, as we're staring at the Luminion along with the counter stadium too. So you can hold the Luminion even if the path comes down. You'll have the counter stadium ready to go, and then you can go ahead and get your full setup.
That is absolutely absurd. That is a phenomenal hand. I'm not loving the starter of that amazing rare Raikou here, but I'll be honest with you, I kind of don't mind when the rest of the hand is that gosh darn good. I mean, Owyn did not get the turn 1 he wanted, but Kai has absolutely made up for it, or at least taken advantage of it. And there's even a Lugia V-Star in hand there, so yeah, I think everything you're looking for Kai. And having a Lugia V-Star prize and having the only other one in your hand.
No way!
Takes the Aerodactyl! But it might be a turn
It
too
was
late.
the next card!
Oh no!
If he could have played 1 more card, he had it.
I still think you play it down.
Of course.
You don't know what you're... But we know that Kai's hand is absolutely broken. But Owyn looks, and it's a fairly small hand, so you've got to hope. But, oh, that could have been so different if he could have drawn 1 more card.
The next 3 cards were ways to get Pokemon. It was a Mew, a Quick Ball, and the Aerodactyl itself.
Oh.
It's so ridiculous here.
That is absolutely... It's just hard. We saw that. You know, we saw that yesterday, you know, players where the next card was everything they needed. There was a crucial turn where a player missed a Lugia V-Star and the next card would have got them a Lugia V-Star, and then they went on to lose the game. Unfortunately, you know, the draws here are random, and sometimes you won't get those draws you need, and it's harsh, but it is unfortunately part of the game. And Owyn here's just thinking, like, I was so close to locking this game up so quickly.
Yeah, this could be completely different. Now has to do so much work to get the job done here, but this is a pretty solid setup. Otherwise, as we see the Mew VMAX ready to go already, could be taking a knockout here, but might want a little more, potentially looking for that boss's orders to try to work on a V Pokemon to take 2 prizes.
Yeah, and certainly, I mean, in terms of the map, you can KO a Mew VMAX, which is, no. Sorry, what am I talking about? So Owyn needs to KO 2 prizes. There aren't any free prizes. Kai can KO a free prizer, which means he's all right getting a single prize Pokemon. Not that there really are any, but Owyn needs to go after free 2 prize Pokemon. And that amazing rare Raikou, if you KO that, then you've got to KO an Archeops at some point just to make the map a little bit easier, and it's not looking great. And Owyn knows there's not going to be a single Archeops down because there's already 2 in the discard pile.
Well, we'll see what decisions left to be made here with that Rotom Phone. Once again, it's not exactly the best choices. There's a decision with the Forest Seal Stone. Do you just give up on the Aerodactyl Dream and just get that into your hand for later?
I like the Judge. Now, again, we have the information of what's in Kai's hand, but we know that there's an Lugia V-Star prize and 1 in hand. So a Judge here, if you play the Judge and Kai whiffs the Lugia, that gives you a turn to use the Aerodactyl, which we know is probably the right play here. But if you haven't got anything else, do you try a cheeky Judge anyway? Like, we know Kai's hand is stacked, but Owyn just knows he's got a free card hand.
Well, maybe you do a little bit of a split, potentially. try to draw some additional cards, and if you do find the boss, then you can switch the game plan. But having the judge certainly isn't bad. You've already seen your opponent play multiple ways to search out Pokemon. They could have very easily grabbed a Luminion for a supporter. They chose not to play a supporter on their opening turn there. So you have to know that the rest of the hand has at least something that could work against a Path to the Peak.
Oh, and I was going to say, Path to the Peak does come down for Owyn. It's awkward when you're the Mew player because it shuts off your own Genesect Fusion Strike system. But essentially, I think what this is saying, look, I'm going to need one more turn for the Aerodactyl. So if I can get this Path to stick for a single turn, then you can't use Lugia, and then I get my Aerodactyl, and then we're good and ready to go. It is not the way you want to play this game, and you can tell, by the way, you can watch the players. Owyn didn't slam down that Path to the Peak. Owyn really thought about it and put it down quite gingerly, like, I don't really want to do this, but I think this is probably the best play.
Yep, it actively fights against your strategy, but it does so much against your opponent that you just have to go for it.
Double fish.
Ends up drawing a pretty solid hand here with the double Chromatic and the Mew VMAX. We'll have some Pokemon to go with this later on, but it is all up to Kai's opener here now, as this is the one big turn against that Path. Do you have the Vacuum? Do you have the Pumpkin?
No. You've got double Luminion, but they're shot off by Path to the Peak, so that doesn't really do very much. You've got Marnie, so you basically have to play the Marnie and hope at this stage, which is not really what you want to do. But that is about, I think, all you've got here.
That's it. Yep, it's got to have to be that Marnie. See 5 cards and try to find some of these options. It is the Pumpkin, it is the Lost Vacuum, and the Collapsed Stadium that could get this Path moved here.
Yeah, you've got a few options. But the thing is, if you move the Stadium, but you don't draw the Lugia V-Star as well, then it's kind of irrelevant that you've moved the Stadium. Now, we do see the Pumpkaboo here.
But needs that one Lugia V-Star as
the
others in the prizes, and no way to search it either.
No. Oh, so that Path to the Peak worked out, because you know without the Path to the Peak, Luminion's going to get the Lugia V-Star in some way, shape, or form. It just opens up so many options for you, but it's not there. So we can see a Capture Energy coming down, which will then search out a basic, but it's not going to be a Lugia V-Star.
You can go for the Oranguru and try to get that one extra card.
I love that.
That's about all I see here. Other than that, it would just be Read the Wind, tossing the Archeops, and hoping your opponent doesn't find Aerodactyl V-Star.
I mean, the odds of that are incredibly low, but it is, I believe, oh, you're right, I think that is literally the only option at this stage. Going for, has he got the Oranguru?
Yeah, it's in the list, but I'm not sure if it was in the prize cards.
No, I don't remember seeing it in the prizes, but I'm seeing him flick through here. I'm not seeing the Oranguru in the deck. It is in the prizes. It's not there.
No.
Oh, shout out to whoever heard us say that and showed the prizes just to confirm that. Oh, no. So not only is the V-Star prize, but the Oranguru's prized as well. Kai had such a good first turn, but it is not working out this turn. Goes for the Dunsparce to turn off the weakness of all those colorless Pokemon. That is not what Kai wanted. So Owyn has done it. Owyn has bought the turn he needs. And I think, whereas the Path to the Peak might have come down trepidatiously, I think the Aerodactyl V-Star might come down with a little bit more joie de vivre.
If I knew what that means, I'd agree.
So yeah, you've absolutely called it there. Read the Wind, throwing down the Archeops, drawing 3 cards. And oh, that worked out beautifully. So we see the double turbo and the choice belt coming down on the Mew.
Oh.
We see the judge, but here's an interesting thing. Now Owyn really needs that Path to the Peak gone, because Owyn needs the Aerodactyl V-Star, and the way you get it is with the Genesect, which are currently turned off by Path to the Peak. So it's not a done deal. Owyn needs a decent draw off this judge.
Yeah, even the Mew VMAX here would be incredible just to have that Pokemon to switch into. You already have the choice belt there. You can take the big knockout on the Lugia V and also just win the prize race. But wow, finds the Lost Vacuum and the Ultra Ball. This is looking great.
And a Battle VIP pass, because you need to Lost Zone something to play Lost Vacuum, and now you get to do that as well.
That's the best card to throw away. And sure enough, Genesect right back in the mix. Gonna use that Ultra Ball here, and I think we know what Pokemon we like with that Aerodactyl V-Star.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful. You get the Lost Vacuum, you get the Ultra Ball, there goes the Aerodactyl, and there is absolutely no surprise. And let's be clear, Kai knows what this Aerodactyl does. This is a kind of, I'm going to read it just to make sure, see if there's any way around it. But that was more of a hope. Maybe I missed something.
Kai literally told Owyn, I can't do anything, right? He's like, yeah, that is exactly why this card is in the deck.
Yeah.
And sure enough, we will see it promoted into the active spot here to lock in that incredible ability.
Sometimes you read a card because you've forgotten what it does. Sometimes you read a card in a vain hope that you've misremembered what it does, and it's not quite as bad as you thought it was. But unfortunately, Kai confirming there that it is, unfortunately, as bad as he thought it was. And yeah, we're going to see a few Fusion Strike systems here. But, I mean, all Owyn really needs here is like a Mew V Max just to back up the existing one. And yeah, we're going to see that Ancient Star, V-Star power. Until this Pokemon leaves play, it gains an ability that has the effect your opponent's Pokemon V in play, except any Aerodactyl V-Star, have no abilities. So any of those Pokemon Vs, like, for argument's sake, just as an example, Lugia V-Star,
oh, yeah.
that one, yeah, they don't have any abilities anymore, and that is absolutely huge. The Lugia deck doesn't work unless you can use your V-Star power to get the Aerodactyl to accelerate the energy, and now Kai can't. And if Kai could just KO the Aerodactyl, it would be fine. But he can't. So, yeah, things changed. I believe that is a German Aerodactyl there.
Yep, Kai just looking at a translation, trying to understand what exactly is going on with the opening attack there. Don't have to worry about that, though. You're not going to see a fighting energy featured in this list. So mainly featured the Ancient Star, and sure enough, that's going to be a big enough problem in itself.
Yeah, funny enough, I have a German Aerodactyl. A friend of mine gave me a rainbow red German Aerodactyl GX.
I need more friends.
I know, right? You need European friends. They have fun language cards. I've got such a weird collection of different European languages. It's lots of fun. So we are over to Kai now, and this is like worst case scenario for Kai. Unfortunately, there isn't very much going on here. It's just not going to work. What do you do?
Yeah, I mean,
tell me what you do.
We're looking at the clock. 15 minutes has already passed, and you're staring at the end game. This Aerodactyl V-Star, as soon as it comes down, you understand that you have to build up a Lugia on the bench, wait a lot of turns, hope your opponent doesn't find a boss's orders, and meanwhile, every single turn, you're most likely losing a prize card. It just doesn't line up unless you have a powerful energy in your hand every single turn.
Yeah, and with Mew, all you really need at this stage, you need 2 Mew V Mats because they generally copy Genesec's attacks. They can't attack in consecutive turns. So you've got 2 Mew to free retreat between them. The occasional boss's orders to take out a pesky Pokemon. You know, if you use boss's orders to KO that bench Lugia with the energy, then Kai literally cannot attach energy fast enough to even get a relevant attack off at any point. So, I mean, I feel pretty confident at this stage. You know, Kai's got like one chance here, and if you don't get an attack with that Lugia, it's probably concede and go to game 2.
Yeah, Kai understands what to do in this situation, promoting the single prize Pokemon, Dunsparce, playing down the power of a colorless energy, and likely just looking for any other single prize Pokemon that could be played onto the bench, promoted after this Dunsparce is knocked out, and just hope that eventually you draw into the rest of those powerful energies, and the last Lugia V-Star, of course.
Yeah, you need that one as well. That is going to be important. And then there is a chance here, right? If you can build up a Lugia V-Star manually with those powerful colorless energy, you can start taking some big KOs, but it's going to take you several turns to do so. Owyn can completely ruin that plan with a boss's orders. I mean, Kai was looking so good after that amazing turn 1 with that phenomenal hand. Owyn took a chance with a path to the peak of the judge.
This is game ending. The boss's orders was already in hand. Found the Ultra Ball for the Mew VMAX. That means you can go ahead and use the one with the Choice Belt. Easy knockout on the Lugia V with the powerful.
Yeah, and that's it at this stage. You're doing 210 copying Genesec's attack, 240 with a Choice Belt, and that is going to be it. That is going to be a KO on the Lugia. And at that stage, if you're Kai, I think you have to concede the game. There's no realistic way to win from there, and you need to save time. Ties aren't going to do you very well here, unfortunately. You need to stack some wins. We're cutting from 60 players down to 8. You're going to need a good record. There is the boss's orders. We see the retreat into the Mew. We see the KO. And is Kai going to leave this? Oh, no, we don't see the KO yet. Genesect wants to draw some cards first.
Yeah, maybe just looking for path or something that you could potentially just lock in even further. But at this stage, I think you're just fine. You're going to take your knockout, and sure enough, there's nothing left for Kai to do at this stage. I think you just have to concede, try to use the most of the clock here in Game 2, and hopefully Game 3.
Yeah, you do have Radiant Charizard, but that's not yet a single energy attacker. You will still need 2 energy to attack with that, so you can't even attack this turn with Combustion Blast. You have to let Owyn take another prize, and even then you're not getting a one-hit KO on Mew with Charizard, so I don't think that's going to win it yet.
Oh, here's a great play. Play down the collapse stadium and hope that they throw away the Aerodactyl V-Star.
I mean, it's a bold move.
Unlucky.
Yeah, and I mean, look, I have made very silly mistakes playing Pokemon, and I've played against people who have made very silly mistakes. I mean, it's not a great plan, but, you know, maybe your opponent accidentally discards the wrong the wrong Pokemon.
Well, not today, and I think Kai understands exactly where he is at this stage. If the Radiant Charizard's knocked out, then surely there's almost no way back.
See, my problem with a Radiant Charizard, though, is that it doesn't get a KO. Even with a choice bout, it maxes out at 280, which isn't enough to KO a Mew. So
finds the boss's orders as well.
Oh, there is the boss's orders onto the Charizard. And then we see a Lost City. So we're going to see a KO, but that Charizard is actually going to end up in the Lost Zone. And yeah, I only see another Mew coming down now that the stadium's been taken away. Not that that's going to really mean very much. We see the retreat into the new Mew VMAX so that you can chain those attacks, copying Genesect. But I do think at this stage we are very much running through the motions. Owyn's going to go down to 2 prizes remaining. And yeah, there we go. Charizard gets KO'd. And we have got a Lugia V-Star. That single Lugia V-Star did actually make it out, so that was quite nice.
Yeah, it's great to see it, but I'd love to see it in game number 2 now, because there's just no way to come back from this stage, you would think.
There is a point where you are potentially, you know, using time that you're going to need later on.
Yes.
If we end up in a game 3 and Kai is 2 turns away from winning, you know, winning game 3,
there we go,
winning the match, that could end up being relevant. So we do see the contestation from Kai, and we are going to be going on to game 2. Owyn wins game 1. And yeah, that Aerodactyl turns out pretty good.
Yeah, that was some useful information that Kai acquired in that 20 minutes, and we'll definitely understand there. You have to get that Lugia V-Star out on turn number 2. Tried everything he could, of course, to get there. Used that Marnie, could not find the Lugia V-Star, and if he did, we would have had a completely different game potentially.
Oh, absolutely. It was Kai had that turn, and there was a thing, you know, Owyn on turn 1 chose to not go for the Aerodactyl with the Battle VIP pass. Played it a bit safe. It didn't work out. Playing that Judge was a risk because you saw your opponent had a 3-card hand. Playing down that path to the peak when you're giving yourself a 4-card hand and you're relying on Genesect, that was a risk. Had Owyn decided to be a little bit more trepidatious and not actually have done that, there's a very good chance Kai wins that game. It was taking a chance with a Judge Path combo, which could have hurt Owyn just as much as Kai. That is what won that game, because that is what led to getting the Aerodactyl V-Star in play, and as soon as that V-Star power was used to give Aerodactyl that ability, it was all over at that stage. That was the game.
Yeah, I love watching Owyn play in person because, of course, we've featured him and his brother in the team challenge so often, and they did extraordinarily well in those stages. Sure enough here, still one of the best players in Europe, in the top 5 still, after Tord knocked him out of the #1 contention after winning Latin America. But we get to see him play and read his opponents, which is something that he's not able to do in the online field. And sure enough, had a great understanding of when to do all of these perfect plays, read the hand, knew when to play down the Judge, and ended up coming out on top.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, at Lille Regional Championships, we actually had a win-and-in for day 2, which was Owyn against his brother.
Wow. 2
brothers playing for the win-and-in for day 2. That was, I mean, that was a no-brainer to have that one in on the stream. That was, I'm sure that was Lille Regional Championships we had that. That was, so yeah, we've got to see Owyn in person a few times, and a very, very good player. Dunsparce is prized, but this is not the matchup where it really matters. Nothing terrible for either players there.
Yep, I think we're going to have a great game number 2 here, as it looks like Kai is starting things off with the Lumineon V.
Oh, Oh, it's not the one you want. It's got a decent attack, but you really want that to go and find yourself a supporter card. So, yeah, I would like to see that one in the hand. It's not the starter you want, but Kai knows the assignment at this stage. Kai knows I have got to get the turn 2 Lugia V-Star. If I get the turn 2 Lugia V-Star, it is impossible for Owyn to turn that off using Aerodactyl. Now, Owyn could still get a turn 1 path to the peak, try and buy a turn like we saw in game 1, but Kai here needs to go turbo. And here's my question. If you can only get one Archeops out with Lugia, but you can do it turn 2, do you do it, or do you risk and wait for the second Archeops?
It's tricky because against Mew, you don't always need to have all of the energy acceleration, but it is great to have access to that amazing rare Yveltal. So you kind of just have to read the game board and see if you've got enough attack power on hand. There's some situations where you get some early damage onto a Mew V, and that Lugia can really help clean up, get those 3 prize cards, and then you can start to attach those energies onto the Yveltal, force your opponent to have the boss's orders, and then they're just going after a single prize, and they haven't answered the giant Lugia.
Yeah, all excellent points there. I mean, yesterday, we didn't see a situation where a player was kind of forced into a single Archeops where they won. They always lost in that situation. We did see Natalie voluntarily going single Archeops against Control because only needed the one, but that was a very different thing. So we do see the capture energy onto the Luminion V here. Bearing in mind, Luminion is a decent attacker, doing 120, going back into the deck with Aqua Return. So that could end up being used later. And it could be a second Lugia, but instead we're going for the Oranguru here. Yeah. Because, of course, Owyn is not getting a turn 1 KO on this single Lugia. So this is one of those situations where you don't need the second Lugia.
The hand is already flooded with energies right now. Go ahead and give yourself an opportunity to maybe find something different. There is a quick ball, so you have access to that Pumpkaboo if you see the opening path to the peak. But you still don't have a supporter yet, so a little help off the top would be fantastic here.
Yeah, that would always be rather nice. So we do see the Oranguru, and like you said, it's going to be a special energy that goes back in, and we see a Charizard.
Not exactly what we drew up.
No. Is there any way to get the V-Star in hand right now?
No, there's it's 2 energies, the Radiant Zard and the Quick Ball right now. So Quick Ball could, of course, always go for the Luminion V to find a supporter, but I think we're going to run into that path issue here as Owyn is off to a quick start once more, Battle VIP pass.
Yeah, I think you're right on every point there. It looks like we're eyeing down the Mew and the Genesect. There's always an awkward situation that first Battle VIP pass. Personally, I'm always a fan of going double Genesect, just giving yourself the maximum amount of draw. But that can come back to haunt you, especially, you know, if Kai has a big turn and KOs that lone Mew, which is absolutely possible from the board state he's got at the moment, you want to have that backup Mew. And if you go double Genesect and your lone Mew gets KO'd, that's basically the end of the game before we've even really started.
Yeah, that's a great point. Just trying to give yourself the opportunity to draw into additional cards, but also being considerate of the fact that if you don't have a Mew VMAX next turn, you're going to be in a lot of trouble against Summoning Star.
We do have a Genesect in hand, though, which changes things, but it's another Tails on Cramomatic, which is not what we're looking for at all, frankly.
No, looks like there is a Judge in the hand, so could use that and then try to draw up. There's potential to just play the tablet and draw one, but I think you just use the supporter here and test your luck. See if you can find some additional Pokemon and potentially that path.
I think if there was a target for the Lost Vacuum so that you could really lower your hand down, then I think you can start using your Genesect. But there wasn't, so I think Judge is absolutely the way to go here. Get a new hand of 4, disrupt your opponent a bit. Early game, it's awkward, but I've been judged on like turn 1 or turn 2 a lot. And it can give you some really bad hands.
Yep, this also disrupts the top card from Oranguru, but that's actually helpful in this stage. Kai wasn't going to be drawing anything great, but that's the difference between the Judge and the Marnie in these lists now.
Yeah, Kai's hand wasn't great. Oh, that is really not good. Yeah, I don't like Kai's hand at all. Now we start seeing the Genesect coming down. We've actually got a full bench with no Aerodactyl here.
And found the path to the peak, so going to go with the alternate strategy of just understanding your opponent was likely to get the Summoning Star, so go ahead, play down as many cards as you can, see if you can find the path. If you stick that for an additional turn, you're probably going to win the prize race anyways.
Yeah, and I agree with you 100% there. That is exactly what's going on. I can't, you know, we saw how great Aerodactyl was at shutting down, but your opponent has potentially got Lugia on board for next turn. Aerodactyl might be a turn too slow, so play path to the peak and just kind of try and rush. And we do see that with Owyn. Great setup. Passing over to Kai. Oh, Kai top decks Lugia V-Star.
That's a great Pokemon to add to the hand, but there's nothing else going on. I think that the Oranguru is going to have to try to bail out once more, as the path should just be locked here. It's a few energies, a Choice Belt, some Pokemon.
Yeah, having the Lugia is awesome if you can use it, which at the moment you can't. Oh, see, I mean, there's plenty of cards you can drop there from the Oranguru, but you really need to. I mean, this one card is huge. It's weird how big Oranguru has been in this matchup already. Getting that single card.
In many matchups, it's just about giving yourself that energy back into the deck, but
Keeper
finds a way to draw additional cards here.
That's not bad. Kind of have to switch into the Lugia, draw the free, and cross your. Oh, but then if a Lugia gets KO'd, that's really bad.
Yep, and I guess you could always potentially retreat and then go Bird Keeper back into your Lumineon if you wanted to, and avoid some of those higher retreat costs.
But then if you get the Lugia, then it's so much harder to KO the Mew.
Yep, you just would go ahead and use a Aqua Return at that stage. So it's a double-edged sword. We'll see the Bird Keeper come down. Do you just promote the Oranguru?
Yeah.
He's been your buddy.
And it's a Manaphy, an Energy, and a Lugia V. None of that is going to really help you very much at all.
Those are terrible.
I mean, putting the Oranguru active was definitely the right play then, because at least you don't mind giving that up so much. But Kai is one game down here, and there is not much luck. There is very little going on with that hand. And we're down to the manual attachments of powerful colorless energy already, and that did not work in game one. That path to the peak is absolutely doing its job.
Well, this is the part of Owyn's deck that starts to get interesting. The Lost Vacuum has to be used on the path to the peak in order to start drawing additional cards with the Genesect V, which then opens up for your opponent to then use the Summoning Star. So do you potentially use a card like Cram-O-Matic and just try to go for the Mew VMAX here? Or do you just play very aggressively, try to find that second path in the deck?
I mean, there's a few different options. I'm not sure, honestly.
Finds the Mew VMAX, though.
Okay, well, at least you've got that. I definitely, we got Lost City coming down, so we're not going to be seeing Path to the Peak. We do see Genesect, and I think this is kind of Owyn's way of saying, you know what? I like my setup here. I like the way my game is going, so I kind of feel confident that I can just rush you from here. And I'm gonna let you have the Lugia, because at this stage, we've got Aerodactyl in the Lost Zone. We've got Lost City having been played this turn. It looks like we are going to see a Lugia V-Star next turn.
Absolutely huge here, finding the big Parasol that is going to block the knockout from a potential amazing rare Yveltal on the following turn. The only thing that could potentially remove this Mew VMAX from play now is a Lugia V-Star with 3 powerful energies and the Choice Belt. You're asking so much of your opponent at that stage. It has to feel very comfortable now.
Yeah, although do remember Kai does play a single copy of Lost Vacuum that could get rid of the big Parasol. That is one option. And again, it's like a one-of item card, which is not easy to find, but that would be an option for KOing the Mew later on in the game. It's that big Parasol, it is hard to get rid of. It's a card which has seen a sneaky large amount of play in the last couple of formats.
Yeah, it would actually be 4 Powerfuls and the Choice Belt as well, due to the Oricorio. So that is a lot that you would have to work towards in order to KO this Mew VMAX if you're not able to remove the big Parasol.
Yeah, that is quite a lot. The automatic KO of Yveltal is amazing, but the big Parasol stops effects of attacks, and an automatic KO is absolutely an effect of an attack. So it does look like we've got a Cram-O-Matic here, discarding a Cram-O-Matic to pay the cost of using it, and we actually see a heads on Cram-O-Matic.
Yeah, we're not used to seeing those on stream, but sure enough, it's going to pay off here, and we'll see what the choice is now. Do you just want to think about more path to the peak and trying to lock that in later on, or have we moved on, and do we understand that our opponent's probably just using Summoning Star next turn?
I mean, we've seen the Lost City played this turn, so Path to the Peak is not coming out, unfortunately. We have that lovely rule, you're only allowed to play 1 stadium per turn, and you're not allowed to play a stadium that has the same name as a stadium that is already in play. So that means, unfortunately, with Owyn, you know, we see the escape rope on the screen there. That would be a cool card right now, because it would force a 2-prize Pokemon from Kai to throw up. It would probably be the Luminion, but hey, you'd get 2 prizes off a Luminion.
Yeah, it looks like the Lost City is definitely going to be sticking around, obviously.
Oh, there we go. It is the rope. And it is going to be the Luminion. That has to be the choice. You just don't want it.
Yep, we will see the 2 prize cards available now here. Mew VMAX into the active spot, and that's going to be a nice knockout here, putting all the pressure back onto Kai.
Yeah, unfortunately here, it's a big 2 prize KO for Owyn. And, you know, Kai is going to get the Summoning Star, but I think the key point here is that Owyn has kind of let him have the Summoning Star. He's like, I've set up really nicely. I love my board. I'm up 2 prizes. Now you can start playing the game. And it is the big Parasol Mew VMAX in the active, so we are going to need to see either a Lost Vacuum getting rid of the big Parasol, or we're going to see 4 powerful colorless energy and a choice belt to get a KO. That is an awful lot to ask for.
Yeah, we're talking about some scenarios that require a lot of cards, and right now he's just drawing double turbo energies and hoping that an Oranguru can bail him out to get anything rolling here. Would love to see a way to find that other Luminion, or just a supporter finds Evolution Incense.
That's not going to work. Evolution Incense will not get the Luminion, unfortunately. And I believe there's still only 1 Archeops in a discard pile, so Summoning Star would be for a single Archeops here, which is not what we're looking for at all. And the thing is that this deck doesn't have natural draw power, whereas the Mew deck has the Genesect V with that Fusion Strike system, drawing card after card after card. Lugia doesn't. Lugia is relying generally on those supporter cards, and, you know, having your Archeops, you don't need many other cards. But when you don't have your Archeops out and you're not drawing your supporters, the deck can get a little bit clunky, and that is exactly what we're seeing from Kai here. So this is not what we're looking for at all. I mean, what do you even get with the Evolution Incense here that's going to give you any kind of value?
I mean, you can just go for the second Lugia V-Star, but I don't even know if you want to go evolve right now, because Read the Wind might be your only option to draw cards at this stage. And of course, it doesn't look like it's going to be a Pokemon that would stay in the active spot too long, but maybe you get lucky, your opponent doesn't find switching effects or doesn't find that second Mew VMAX to switch between.
I think that's a bit too risky for me. I don't think I would do that one, because all they need is 1 damage multiplier, whether that's a choice belt or a power tablet, and, you know, a switch into the Mew VMAX or whatever, and then all of a sudden they're up by 4 prizes and the game's basically over. So I like the playing of the V-Star here, and I think you have to Summoning Star the Archeops and hit but not get a KO. I think that's what you've got to do here, but it's not a play I'm loving. Yeah, and that's what we've got.
Yep, this is just the hand that Kai has been dealt at this stage. Understands that he's going to have to get these energies accelerated and play with the Lugia V-Stars. And sure, this isn't how he saw things going. Had the choice belt in hand, actually, and would have been able to find all of the powerful energies if he had access to that second Archeops. But it's not going to be the plan now.
Looks like we're going for a powerful and a V-Guard energy onto the Lugia, which is fine. That'll do for now. But it's going to be a decent amount of damage, but it's not going to be a KO. And when you're against these big Mew decks, like the big advantage that a lot of decks find against Mew is being able to get a big 1-hit KO on one of those 3 prizes with something like an amazing rare Evil Tau, like a Drapion V. That's how you kind of really push the prize trade in your favor against Mew. If you're 2-hit KOing against Mew, essentially 1.5 prizes per turn, while they're getting big 1-hit KOs, essentially 2 prizes per turn, and they got the first KO, that's not a prize race you're going to win very often.
We'll just see the 1 energy here from the Archeops onto the Lugia V-Star. And yeah, it's just attacking into the Mew VMAX for not a knockout. Of course, the V-Guard will potentially help keeping this Lugia around for a little longer. And thankfully, the hit points on the bench Lugia V-Star now, as it's evolved, should help there too. But this is a lot to come back from.
Yeah, unfortunately, 200 damage. And 200 damage is a lot, but it is certainly not enough at this stage. Owyn is up by 2 prizes, and I like the evolution of the benched V because it turns off the really easy 2-prize KO that Owyn could otherwise have had. And going up by 4 prizes, I think, might have been a bit too much. But we see Owyn here playing that judge, giving both players a new hand of 4 cards. And if we see a Mew VMAX and a double turbo energy here, I think Owyn is getting a long way towards winning this game.
Yep, that's exactly what he's looking for at this stage. Just wants to have that additional Mew VMAX, hopefully without, or with the choice belt now, to get some additional damage.
And there is the Lost Vacuum coming down, just clearing out the hand a little bit. So now you've got 6 Fusion Strike Pokemon in play and 1 card in hand. Oh, we've got the double turbo already, and there's still plenty more drawing if Owyn wants it.
I'm going to look through, see if there's some cards he wants to put back with the PAL pad now, too. Silene could help out in getting the power tablets back out.
We're seeing an Ultra Ball here, getting rid of a couple of cards in the hand. There's not really anything you want here. This is more just hand thinning. You're drawing so many cards with Genesect that if you can get bad cards out of your hand, you can draw more cards with Genesect. It just makes your deck a little bit more consistent. If it's a card you know you're not going to want for the rest of the game, go and pop it in a discard pile, pop it in a lost zone with whatever cards you're able to do so, and it just means that you're more likely then to draw the cards you're actually looking for. And it looks like we have got that power pad just for a Silene here.
Yep, it's going to be a nice resource to add to the hand, potentially, after some additional drawing. Only 1 card in hand now, so should see some more cards added. There's already been 1 Genesect to use, right? Yeah, so that's going to be number 2 here. And finds the Forest Seal Stone, which we haven't seen any abilities yet, so that's going to be fantastic.
So you can use that. That could go on any Pokemon V. Doesn't have to be a V-Star. It can be a normal Pokemon V. And it gives you a V-Star power that just lets you basically find any card in your entire deck that you're looking for. So this is kind of huge, honestly. And we do see the Mew coming up now. I think we've seen 1 power tablet so far.
Yeah, I'm not sure the reach is there in this hand. Might just have to go ahead and attack in and save the Forest Seal Stone for another time, because needed a lot more help there, and that hand isn't going anywhere yet.
It's a bit of a shame there's no Mew V on the bench, because what I would love to see right now is now a Psychic Leap to KO that Lugia V-Star, which wouldn't actually be enough because of the V-Guard energy. You would need some damage modifiers to get the KO with Psychic Leap, but doing that to completely heal that Mew V-Max would be awesome, but you need a bench space to put a Mew V down to copy the attack with the V-Max, which we don't currently have.
Yep, if there was a little more damage on the Mew V-Max and potentially onto this next one, then you do get to see those big plays, maybe with the Raikou, but the Oricorio is helping out so much in this instance to avoid that. But surely plenty of damage left to be had on both of these Mew VMAXs. And you can see the prize map there. He hasn't taken any prizes, but if you get a bunch of damage onto these 3 prize Pokemon, you can potentially clean this up. And I think Owyn understands this and is just going to move on.
I think we're heading to a surprise game 3. And no one's signing a match slip, and people seem to be shuffling up, so that must mean that Kai has conceded game 2. And no, I believe Kai conceded game 2, otherwise we would be finished. So yeah, the fact that we're shuffling up means we must be at 1 game each, and I think you've called it there. That was not particularly obvious, but I think you absolutely nailed it there, Kyle. Essentially, Owyn's sitting there doing the maths and going, with the setup that Kai's got, he can build up damage on both of my Mew and win the game, and I have no interest in a tie right now.
Yeah, the hand was awful. It just really wasn't going to play out too well from that point for Owyn, and he understands if I have 10 minutes against Lugia, I feel comfortable and able to take enough prize cards to close things out here. We'll see if the strategy changes, though. Do you go for that quick Aerodactyl still, knowing that you have to go for these prizes? Usually that's your go-to answer, but I'm not too sure anymore.
No, I think you do. And the reason I think you do is for 2 reasons. Firstly, you're going first. That is huge in game 3. Secondly, if I get the Aerodactyl out, my opponent gets completely shut down, and then it's easier for me to take those prizes. And I think even if I take, I might have to take an extra turn to get the Aerodactyl out, but I think I'm going to save at least 1 turn by having the Aerodactyl and my opponent being shut down. Thankfully, no Aerodactyl V or V-Star in the prizes. That Forest Seal Stone is in the prizes, though, and that is played as just a one-off. So if that was going to be what Owyn wanted, if that was a V-Star power that Owyn is looking for, it's not available.
Yeah, we're going to say Owyn playing as fast as possible here, trying to make the most of this clock. And yeah, as I was leading into with that Aerodactyl, I think there is a point on the clock where you do just have to forego that, but it's probably not at the 10-minute mark. There is enough time here to get down the Aerodactyl V-Star, lock out your opponent from play, and start sealing prize cards. And if you're playing this quickly, as Owyn is, I think there's an opportunity.
Yeah, and we do have the Aerodactyl on the bench, and I think you're right. There comes a point where you're like, I can do 2 attacks, and maybe those 2 attacks will be enough. And you cannot do that with the Aerodactyl. But Owyn understands the assignment, and there's so many things we see here that point Owyn out to be one of those top-tier players. Saying, I've got 10 minutes left, I will play fast, I will probably make a few little mistakes, but if I don't play fast, I am definitely going to tie, so it's worth it. That is good. The other thing is conceding that second game. There were an awful lot of people watching who probably went, hang on a second, it's way too early for that. Owyn had basically looked 5 turns in the future and gone, I might win this, but the odds aren't high enough. I am more likely to win a short game free than I am to win this game.
Absolutely. Yep. Owyn looking at this hand now, sees that Mew VMAX, sees that Aerodactyl V-Star, feels comfortable, passing over the turn. Kai going to use the Oranguru opener here. We don't really love seeing that, but does find a card like that Irida. Maybe could find some additional help, but going to use the Marnie.
Yeah, see, the problem with the Irida, though, is that you just put the Lugia V-Star on top of your deck. And if you then use the Irida, then that Lugia ends up being shuffled into your deck, and that's kind of a bad thing, because you do need to be able to find that. But we did see a Luminion there for next turn. We got a Bird Keeper. So it's not terrible, and we've got the Lugia V-Star in hand, obviously, but there's no Archeops in the discard, and Owyn is off here. We've got Path to the Peak if we need it. We can... no, we just got quick balling away the Path to the Peak. Owyn is off. It is thin the hand, use the Genesect, find the Aerodactyl.
Yep, we'll see that definitely as the play here. Power Tablet down, Lost City as well. Kamerman held in the hand, going to draw a bunch of cards, finds the Aerodactyl V, needs to now find that double turbo energy to go along with it.
But the good news is you do have, so you've got the escape rope there that you could throw away with the Kamerman, but you could also force the 2-price Pokemon
You can just knock out the Lugia if you find this energy as well. You already have the Power Tablet.
I love it.
Try to draw into it. Has the Kamerman still to go for this.
Heads would be huge here. It is a heads!
That's unreal.
Get the double turbo energy, KO, and it's a lone Lugia, isn't it? I'm not making this up.
That's it, yeah.
And this is why. You want the Aerodactyl, but again, like I keep saying, Owyn knows exactly what's going on here. I'm going Aerodactyl. Hang on a second, I can KO his only Lugia? Who needs Aerodactyl? And this puts Kai so far behind, and I do think that this is going to lead to a win for Kai, even without the Aerodactyl. Excuse me, for Owyn here, even without the Aerodactyl, because Kai doesn't have much going on at all. Lugia actually does go to the Lost Zone. That's not terribly relevant, but now we're going to play a Luminion. And here's the thing, with the +3 turns, Owyn is guaranteed 2 more turns. Even if this turn for Kai takes 6 minutes, Owyn will get 2 turns, and 2 bosses orders could well end up winning this game.
Yeah, we would need to see some more V Pokemon down, but that's the only way that Kai wins this game at this point. Needs to find that Lugia V, get that back onto the bench, and hopefully avoid a Gust effect.
And Owyn can always go Aerodactyl. Owyn can always pivot back to that. But I think at this stage, what you really want to do, if a Lugia hits a field, you want to Gust and KO it. That is the goal here. You no longer really care about shutting Lugia off because you can KO them. There are 2 bosses orders in the deck, but with the Genesect playing around here, and this is where the Forest Seal Stone could come in kind of big, because it's not in the deck right now, and this is now a game where that would actually be a great card.
Yeah, being able to find those gusting effects, bring this Lugia back up would be fantastic. And yeah, we're seeing the ordering here just a little bit off, but sure enough, there is the Ultra Ball to throw away that Archeops and then go find that Lugia. But it's just going to be the one. So if we see the boss's orders and a way to switch this Pokemon along with 1 more damage amplifier, that's got to be GG.
Yeah, you can either switch into a Mew and use a free retreat, or you can just get a new Mew VMAX with a double turbo energy, although you would need some kind of damage modifier there. You'd need a power tablet or a choice belt. And then, yeah, that absolutely would be it. There are a few cards needed from Owyn. We've got the boss's orders off the top deck, but we don't even actually need it. Chooses to use the escape rope here. Then we've got the boss's orders anyway with the power tablet. That is the game. Owyn Kamerman wins 2 games to 1. A very fast sequence there, but basically we use the escape rope to switch, boss's orders to then bring up that lone Lugia, and Kai went, yeah, I'm 4 prizes down, I've got no Lugia on the board, I think we're good.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at that, that is the perfect sequence of events for Owyn, understanding exactly how much time was left. He was in a situation where he could have won game 2. 2, but it wasn't looking great, so said, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and play as best I can in game number 3. Saw game plan number 1 with the Aerodactyl. Saw game plan number 7 with that switch over to the Mew VMAX, and sure enough, ends up taking the win here.
And that was just a wonderful lesson for anybody watching at home. The lesson there was very, very simple. Know what your game plan is going in, but be prepared to adapt. If your game 2 is going okay, that game 2, I would like to have seen how that played out. And in an untimed game, obviously we play it out. I don't think Owyn was guaranteed to lose that game.
Right.
I think Owyn looked at it and went, I'm not loving this. This could really go either way, but I've got 10 minutes to do a game 3 where I know I'm going first, and if I go first and draw okay, I can get the Aerodactyl out, and that went pretty well game 1.
Yeah, you can be an excellent Pokemon player and also an excellent Pokemon tournament player. There are different things because, of course, if you sit down and have all the time in the world to make the perfect plays, that's great, but you don't have time here. You have 50 minutes to figure it out against some of the best players in the world, and Owyn was able to do just that.
Yeah, and that was an absolute masterclass. You got to feel for Kai a bit there. Nothing could be done in that third game. It just did not go his way. But the fact of the matter is, the only reason there was a third game is because Owyn decided, you know what, I need to concede here. I need to take this to a game 3. And, you know, a bit of a shame there having that Lugia prize in the first game. And we saw the Path to the Peak Judge combo work so well. There were some chances taken by Owyn there. And we're talking about calculated risk. We're talking about, I don't know this is going to work, but I do feel very confident this gives me the best chance at winning, and it worked out pretty good.